What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of the You're Still Here podcast for the summer, man. It's the first summer 2024 episode, man. What are you guys doing this summer? You chilling? You hanging 10? You kicking back? You relaxing? Did you book your summer vacations? Summer, honestly, it's like that. It's like the second New Year's resolution. You think you're going to do all these things, and then it's August, and you haven't done any of them. But maybe you are. I already mentioned that I'm going to Italy. I'm filming this, doing a hockey video, a baseball video, and then I'm taking off to Italy, and we'll talk about that on today's show a little bit. But the summer is back, and, you know, last season, or last year, rather, I talked about the summer had... It was called Short King Summer. That was our scam of the week at the time. They were trying to convince all these poor short people that this was going to be their summer. Yeah, that's what girls want. A 5'9" girl all of a sudden, after listing that her biggest fear in life was a guy lying about his 6-foot height on dating apps. Now, magically, that's the one that everybody wanted. Everybody wanted themselves a Short King Summer. And then the year before that, borderline even worse, was the dad bod summer. Yeah, that's exactly what they want. No, they don't want Brad Pitt in Fight Club. That's disgusting. They don't want Pitt and Troy. That's the last thing they want. Tom Hardy as Bane? No, absolutely not. Give me some love handles. Give me those Taco Bell burps the following day. That's exactly what I'm looking for. If those two weren't bad enough, you want to know what they got this summer? This is... I guess Rat King Summer. This is the summer of the rat. And if Gen Z hasn't made enough mistakes already, I guess they're looking for ratty individuals.
Fucking rat anyways. Whole family's all rats.
Does this mean Brad Marchand fans? No, apparently they want that sexy rat boyfriend in the latest dating craze. Hot rodent summer, they're calling it. Hot rodent summer. And I guess a rat, if I can describe it best, is like I guess they show the picture of the actor from The Bear, so you got to be a little unique looking. Your hair has to be disheveled, but in a way that's intentionally disheveled. Like, when I lived in Southern California and I lived in the South Bay in Manhattan Beach, it was a beach town, it was a beach community. Everyone was like, relax, man, hang 10. We got the high tides coming in the morning. And then I'm like, wow, man, are you from where are you from? Newport Beach? No, I'm from Philadelphia. It was a fake, like, California surfer vibe. Everybody was from the Northeast and around some guy from Ohio pretended like he was Zach Morris and grew up in the Palisades, and that wasn't the case. That's wow, what a wild way to talk about a hairstyle. But that's what their hairstyles are, these rats, these hot rodents that they're desiring out there. And here's my advice to any guys out there. Don't you fall for any of these, whether it was Short King Summer, not like you can intentionally make yourself short, but who the hell knows nowadays, especially not dad bod summer. And now don't rat yourself up. They told you the worst thing you could be is a rat in the Goodfellas and the Sopranos.
You would have grew up to be a rat.
Well, that's still the case. If you want to meet women, you want to know what summer works? It's called the 9 to 5 svelte summer. And that's worked since, I don't know, 1900 on the, actually, then again, you know, people, you know, the Great Depression, probably a fat guy had all right, so how about this? End of the Great Depression, post-World War II, Svelte King Summer was always in. And what's my proof? Oh, I don't know. Every billboard that's ever existed. I don't know, maybe up until a few years ago, but prior to then, Svelte always worked. What is Svelte? I don't know. In between slim and fit, you look good in suits. You're svelte, and you want to look that. Do you like saying that word too? I liked saying that word years ago, and it just stuck with me. And svelter is a word. Like, if you're svelte, my goal is to be somewhat svelter. So svelte yourself up and don't try to fall for the Rat King Summer, because, yes, you guessed right, it is a scam. So now that you're not going to be ratting out there this summer, you're probably going to be doing some other things. I just mentioned that summer is kind of like New Year's too, where, oh, no, we're going to do this summer, and we're going to travel, we're going to go camping. something that you couldn't pay me to do. You'd have to pay me $13,000 to go camping on a weekend. Something that people voluntarily do.
Camping blows. It's dirty, and I don't like sleeping on rocks.
And you have to sleep on the floor in a tent with mosquitoes surrounding you everywhere. No, thank you. You can do that.
There's always a guy with acoustic guitar that doesn't quite know how to play it.
But there are other summer activities. You know, the first nice day, you see people out there doing everything. Central Park is filled. Every outdoor area is filled. People, they're jogging along the water and whatnot. You know what I've been seeing a lot? I've been seeing people playing a lot of scam tennis, a.k.a. pickleball. The new fun sport. America's new craze. Oh, you mean tennis minus the athleticism or having to work out or work hard? You have two people standing there, and I swear you probably get a better workout playing Mario Tennis than you do. I'm sweating a little right now. I probably am getting more of a workout yelling at you people about pickleball than these people do on the court playing pickleball. But Andy, I mean, come on, we're out there having a good time. Sure, you can have a good time, but you know these people go out there. Yeah, let's go play some pickleball. We'll work up a sweat, burn off those calories, and then let's go to Applebee's after. It's going to be a big net negative.
Give fat
fox. That's my new saying, by the way. You know how when you're online and you see all these videos, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, apparently they can't say the word sex. The word sex is too crazy. And if you type it in the algorithm, horns start going off. It's like the purge. Your account gets shadow banned. Nobody can say the word sex or put that in the captions because I guess the society breaks down. So what they do is, if you ever see captions when people are talking about sex, they spell it S-E-G-G-S to circumnavigate the rules. Because that's really hard for them to figure out, by the way. So mine is calling people like the animals, fat fox. Not only meet the Fockers, but fat fox.
Help yourself, you fat
fox. You're all a bunch of fat fox. That's going to be my new term. Now, summer, traditionally, that's when you had blockbuster movies coming out. You had huge movies, many movies that you were looking forward to, even horror movies, right? You think they come out around Halloween. No, Halloween H2O came out in August. I remember it. Freddy vs. Jason came out in August. They're called summer blockbusters, and this is typically when you would go to the theaters and see great movies. Now, obviously, you can blame it on COVID, but that's just not the case anymore. You hope to get a pretty good movie, I don't know, once every 8 years? And we just got Iron Claw this year, so I think we're going to be a little dry for the next 8 to 10. Speaking of that Rat King, he was actually good in that movie, and that movie actually was great. And I know you people are going to tell me, what do you mean? We got plenty of things. We got Stranger Things next year. I mean, these kids are like 39, and we're still waiting on what the hell's happening. Are they still in high school? So that's coming out next year. And we have Game of Thrones coming out next week. House of the Dragon, Return of the Dragons coming back next week. If you watch that Game of Thrones prequel, I have no doubt that your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whoever the hell your significant other is, they can cheat on you all they want. Anytime they want to hook up with somebody, they can, and they can come back to you knowing you'll always take them back. Because that's exactly what you're doing with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones took you behind the shed, gave it to you up the ass in the worst way humanly imaginable, because you're not going to find a bigger Game of Thrones fan. I can quote any single season. Yeah, those obscure characters that came in for one little episode. Yeah, I know. I know the guy from the Ironborn who blasted Theon Greyjoy as he was giving his speech. And I honestly just saw him in that Omen prequel. I loved Game of Thrones. Okay, I waited years for some of those later seasons. And the reason on my sports betting shows, I always say, betting on something can turn the most mundane activity into the season 4 finale of Game of Thrones. Notice I always say the season 4 finale, because season 5 on, when they went to Dorne and these Sand Sisters sounded like some guy you met at the park faking an accent.
I am Obara Sand, daughter of Oberyn Martell.
It started going way downhill, and then to have it culminate in that hurry-up offense of a final season with Daenerys, what she did in the dark episode where you couldn't see anything, they gave it to us up the ass. And now you're going to let them do it to you again. Oh, no, but season 1 was great. They're just lining up your ass to re-tear it up. They're not happy that it's not fully healed yet. They're going to wait another year or two, and they're going to give it to you. If you watch that show, You're an absolute disgrace.
Who do you fight for?
Andy, I mean, my God, you're getting a little crazy about a TV show here. I used to script ways. I'm like, how can the Knights of the Vale get to the Battle of the Bastards without being seen by Bolton's forces at Moat Cailin? There's no way around Moat Cailin. They're going to spot him, send a raven. There's no way it can be the Knights of the Vale. How'd they explain it? They just didn't. When I care more about the show than the show does, you end up with water bottles under Samuel Tarly's feet. Water bottles had to be removed from the finale.
It's all rats.
The Samuel Tarly, he had the water bottle, and Daenerys had the Starbucks cup right on that table. What a disgrace. So I do have some movie reviews for you, some Netflix reviews. I watched a couple of different things. Typically, I start with horror. You guys know I'm watching horror movies left and right, and I do have horror movies to tell you guys about. In fact, I just watched The Strangers 2 nights ago, and you want to hear this scam that they pulled? I really enjoyed the original Strangers movie. It was one of those summer blockbusters that I went to see. Although it wasn't a real blockbuster, but I went to see that movie. It was with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. It was a great horror movie, and not like corny. It was a great movie. I'll just call it a great movie, even if you don't like horror. Everybody I've watched that with, they've enjoyed it as well. And now this was going to be The Strangers Part 1. What does that make you think? Oh, it's like a prequel, and that's what leads, like you wonder, where do these people come from? This movie's going to explain that, the origin of the No, it actually is called Part 1 because there's a whole new Stranger series. It's more of a remake, and the Part 1 is indicating there's going to be a Part 2 and 3.
What a scam.
And the movie was 20% as good as the original. It was a bad movie, and that's a hell of a gamble to take if you're one of these. This isn't Lord of the Rings, where you pretty much know after the first movie, people are going to be lined up to watch 2 and 3. I just watched Part 1. It was pretty awful. You think I'm watching Part 2 and 3 now? Especially when I feel like they scammed me under the false pretense that this was kind of a prequel, and it absolutely wasn't. No, I'm not watching that. I'm not watching the sequels to that fake prequel. But I said I wasn't going to start with horror movies, as I just started with a horror movie. There's this documentary on Netflix. It's called Dance with the Devil. It's about these sisters. These were like TikTok sisters that you'd see dancing, these attractive girls on TikTok dancing, a couple of sisters. I don't know if they're one of the OGs, like the D'Amelios and the, Rachel Ray and Addison Ray and whoever the hell those people are. I don't know if they span back to like pre-COVID and whatnot. But these two girls got really popular. I'll just call them the Sanderson sisters. I forgot who they are. But they had the Sanderson sisters dancing account. And they made a bunch of duets to get a bunch of videos of the both of them dancing. One of the sisters, I guess she was dancing in college. Then she graduated. And she did something that turns out to be the downfall of a lot of people. You hear about the stories. You hear about the story about Brad Pitt. He was working on a corner of El Pollo Loco, spinning that chicken sign. And look what he ended up in Fight Club, only for people to eventually say years later, it's dad bod summer. So there are some Brad Pitt stories. Oh, Scott Speedman was walking his dog and then he was on the show Bones. Yeah, like it worked that easily. There are many more stories of I went to LA, I got caught up in a scam cult, and here's what's left of me. And this Netflix documentary called Dance with the Devil, one of these two sisters of this dancing TikTok duo moves to Los Angeles, gets a boyfriend in Los Angeles, mistake number 2. And this boyfriend in Los Angeles starts to get her involved with a Christianity-based church, an offbeat church. That's all LA is, like a religion with somebody else's twist on it. And you guys know the main one that resides in that city with the big blue building that I won't even name because I'm that scared that they have universal listening devices and will forever come after people who speak poorly about them. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. And if you are from that organization and are watching this video, I'm not saying, look, I'll go a long way to screw someone, but I'll be the first to admit they will go an even longer way. So I'm not saying anything about them, but as far as this offbeat religion that got that sister involved, as always, started out normal. Oh, I'm just, I'm getting reacquainted with the church. You know how when we grew up, we were standard American churchgoers? We went to church only on holidays and when we needed something. Well, now I want to start going on more of a regular basis. So she starts going to church more with this boyfriend. Now, eventually, the second sister moves out to Los Angeles and wanting to be as close with her sister as possible, or this is how the documentary sells it. You know, you guys know my thoughts about documentaries, by the way. I believe that both sides of it, like you should be able to release your documentary. Like your documentary is Andy is the worst human being ever. His show got people hooked on gambling. Mine is you are the biggest scumbag ever. And then both of our documentaries premiere at the same time, and then people at home can decide who is lying. I always feel like there should be counter documentaries because you want to talk about stacking the evidence. You have a show with Netflix's marketing all going behind it, and then you're just sitting and it's like, oh, and then you're on YouTube. I really didn't do any of those things. Anyway, this other sister who moves to Los Angeles, she wants to start to become involved with it, right? Like, oh, I want to do what my sister's doing. She says at first it seemed somewhat normal, but a little off. And forgive me when I just don't believe. If you're a little skeptical, you're skeptical. But she says she sticks with it. And then at one point she was going to pick up a friend from LAX airport, and somebody from the church called her and said, you can't pick up your friend from the airport. There's an impromptu church session and you have to be here. She's like, no, but I told my friend I was going to pick. It doesn't matter. And then she insinuates she left the church because of that. And then after that point, the sister stopped communicating with her. The church drove a wedge in between her sister, and the rest of the family. And then the whole documentary from that point on is about the second sister with her parents trying to get this girl out of the cult, which she's still in to this day. If you go to her page, I don't know what her name is. They're the Sanderson sisters to me. But you can see that she's still involved with this church and defends it.
She cut off all ties. I don't know anybody that has spoken to her from before. The only people that I think speak to her are whoever is involved in this religious organization.
I got to be honest. I don't know if this is just because I'm a huge prick. I don't feel bad for anybody. I don't feel bad for the sister in the cult church, and I don't feel bad for the other sister with the family members either. The reason I don't feel bad for the sister who's inundated with the cult, because no, but she had a boyfriend and then she went to the church. You know how many things there's scam after religion after scam in Los Angeles. Everybody's asking you to join something or another. You remember that girl from what was it? Not Seventh Heaven or something. One of those CW shows. She ended up in that wacky cult that made everybody, you know, everyone just has to blow the leader of the cults, and then magically they're going to have an into heaven or something like that. Don't you grow a little skeptical of that?
He tells me he's a man of God, and just like King David in the Bible, he's allowed to have mistresses. Don't you grow a little skeptical of that? I want you to be my mistress. When eventually somebody wants to give you the HBO Game of Thrones treatment, wait, I have to take it up the ass and then God is going to be cool with me?
Thank you, Jesus.
Aren't they a little skeptical of these things? So this first person, don't you get a little skeptical? I can't talk. I talk to my sister all the time. I talk to my sister every day. I just can't talk to her about the... Imagine they said that to me. So, Andy, you got to cut off communications with your brother. You got to do that. I know you talk to him every day. You enjoy the Islanders. You talk about hockey stuff. I know you enjoy it, but you got to stop it. I mean, because he didn't not pick up that person from the airport and come to the church ceremony. I mean, what are you talking about? Absolutely not. How am I going to reach out to my brother and let him know that I am livid, that he rented The Iron Claw on Amazon when it was available on HBO for free? That's the pet peeve I was talking about, by the way, and that's why I waited to talk about it. There is nothing that bothers me more. You can look around. I'm an idiot with money. I don't mind spending money on the most idiotic things you've ever seen in your life. I spent hundreds of dollars on that $1 million belt when I didn't even have much to my name. Not about spending the money. But those people who don't take the extra 2 seconds to realize that something is available for free on a streaming service, they simply wouldn't go to Google, just type in The Iron Claw, and it shows you right there, max subscription. No, what do? They open their Samsung TV, they type Iron Claw, it tries to get them to rent it on something, and there you go. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. And if some church leader tells me I can't call him and go off on him about that, no, that's just not going to happen. It's not. And I already told you guys, what was it, 2 years ago? You remember that? When I said a well-known director introduced me to Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens, and then he asked me to dinner. Do you think my mind said, oh, I mean, this is what they do when actors come to Los Angeles. They just want to help them. And that's why things work. That's why Brad Pitt wasn't spinning that El Pollo Loco sign anymore. They just want to help you. So he just introduced me to Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens. Now he just wants to get me some chicken franchise. Now he wants to give me the HBO Max treatment. He wants to give me the Game of Thrones treatment. He wants to give it to me up the ass. And I was like, nah, I just can't do that. Because LA, it's got a bunch of floaters. It takes that random floater from the town you grew up in who needs to find themselves. They end up in Los Angeles. And those are the people who are always most susceptible to joining some sort of offbeat cult.
If you're in a vulnerable position, like struggling artists, that seems to be when people are very susceptible to being drawn towards someone that says not just that his religion is the path to heaven, but he himself is the path to heaven.
That's one sister who just turned her back on her entire family, all to Lord knows what she's doing in there, finding God.
Yo, Andy, the best part of that, though, the best part of that is the other sister ends up marrying Austin Eckler from the Chargers.
And that's what I was going to get into next. The reason I don't feel bad for the other sister, they want you to feel awful for this other sister. Well, sister one has been in that cult for a few years now. And in the time that she's been in that cult, sister number two met Austin Eckler, the running back for the Chargers, and got married to him, which means there was DMs, exchanges, jokes, and dates had, and then they got engaged and married. And not that I'm saying that I'm not happy for her, because that's great that that's the case. But as I mentioned in the last podcast, when I was talking about those protesters and whatnot, if you're protesting, you better be in agony. If my brother was being borderline abducted, if he was abducted by a cult and I couldn't get through to him, my whole life would be about planning scams to get him out of there. I don't care what it is. I would pay the hottest girl ever to fake hit on him at a bar so he falls in love with her. And then in the end, we go, it was all a scam, but now... Can you imagine that? You imagine that? He finally comes home.
This was all a scam.
She didn't like you, but at least you can see clearly now. That's all I would do. I would just be concocting ways to get him out of there. My life would be agonizing all the time, knowing that he's in there. I wouldn't have time to meet Austin Eckler, the female version, and go to Chargers games with a little leather jacket. And I'd be miserable all the time. I feel bad for the parents. You know, good parents, they don't deserve that. But this sister over here going to Chargers games got a better life than all of us, laughing and up and down the sidelines with Austin Eckler. I don't know. Little tough for me to feel bad. And I'm waiting for the other side's documentary to come out. So that one was called Dance with the Devil. How about you watch it and tell me how you feel?
Some of you may leave Shekinah, but all their roads lead to hell.
Outside of that, I'm going to make the return to the horror genre. There was another movie called Late Night with the Devil. A lot of devil correlation. And it's interesting because, you know, people, they don't really talk about hell anymore. You don't hear hell mentioned anymore. Hell used to be, you know, ketchup and mustard, lettuce and tomato, peanut butter jelly, heaven, hell. One always used to come trailing the other. Like, you want to do that so you get into heaven. You don't want to go to hell. I remember WrestleMania, there was the match made in heaven and the match made in hell. We've kind of dropped hell. I think people just say, come on, man, there's not a place with like lava and all that stuff where I'm just eternally burning. That's what's going on. I'm just swimming in lava and eternally burning. But I do believe in heaven. That's kind of a good representation of the way kind of society is now. Like the Billy Madison society. That's the kind of the way it is now. We like to think about only the good things without the bad. So hell's kind of been removed from the equation. I'm bringing hell back. Justin Timberlake brought sex. I'm bringing hell back. And I want to let you know, the first thing I want to let you know, being the kind of hell hall monitor, is that if you did things in your life to avoid going to hell, I believe personally you deserve to go to hell. If not going to hell was the main motivator for you behaving in a way that everybody, you know, finds acceptable and good, I think you should go to hell, because that's not what it's supposed to be. In fact, I think hell only was invented because heaven wasn't enough to motivate people. When they rolled these features out and they say, look, you got to do these things. You got to treat thy neighbors like you treat yourself, and all those commandments, you follow those all. And you're going to that big white room with nice natural lighting. You're going to have full cable television, all the milk and cookies you can handle. And I think people are like, oh, okay, no problem. And I just don't think it was enough. So they went back to the drawing board. They go, look, that's not enough to get these people to do the right things. Like, all right, well, we're going to have to go a little bit harder now. So they had to go on the other side. They're going to, all right, well, then if you don't do these things, then you're going to be swimming eternally in lava. There it is. Match made in heaven, match made in hell, SummerSlam 1991. But they had to introduce hell as a way to destroy. Heaven wasn't enough, so they introduced hell. And I think that's why they had to introduce more circles of hell. I don't even think hell was enough. I think they had to bring in additional circles of hell because the swimming in lava wasn't enough. They needed additional circles.
Hell in a cell.
As you can see on the screen here, if you're watching on YouTube, hell has 9 descending circles, each corresponding to how severe your sins are. The deeper you go, the worse things get. Who came up? I would love to know the crimes required to get into each level of hell, and then the punishment levied in each corresponding circle. I think that was invented, right? Dante's Inferno. My memory may not serve me correctly, but that was, I don't want to say invented, but that was discovered, learned about, talked about in Italy. So hopefully I'm not going to any of those circles of hell. Maybe circle 1, circle 2 I can handle. I don't want to be going to any of those deep circles. Oh my God, look at that. He's got the chart up. He's got the hell pie chart. And you know what? That first level, I said, do they have bushes in there? They got, all right, so you get some lighting in that first layer of hell.
Yeah, that doesn't seem too bad.
It doesn't look that bad. Lust, it's kind of like a basement apartment. It doesn't look like it's the worst. Not getting much light in there. But then gluttony, greed, and it just keeps getting worse. Wait, the bottom is a fraud? The bottom is a fraud? How is a fraud the worst thing you could be? Violence is above fraud. Hopefully I'm not going to any of these circles you see on your screen. But like I said, I am going to Italy. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Italy. I'm going to land in Rome. I'm renting a car immediately, and then I'm getting the hell out of Rome. I'm doing the Chalk City last. So I'm renting a car, and then I'm going to various cities in Italy. And I got to be honest, I shouldn't be allowed to do that. I shouldn't be allowed to drive in Italy. I cannot believe. Like when I went to go rent the car, I thought it was just going to be blocked at some, like, oh no, you're like an American guy. You don't know. My New York DMV should not apply to these paper thin roads where I can fall off a cliff in Sicily or something. There's no correlation between, I don't know a single Italian rule of the road. Can I make a right on red? I have no clue. I mean, I've heard that people in Italy driving minimum 95 miles per hour. If I'm driving 75, are they honking at me? Are they going nuts? I don't know what any of the signs say. I mean, I know Italian a little bit, but you start putting too many words together. I don't know what the hell is it the same as here? When I was in Iceland, I didn't know what the hell those signs were. Icelandic, they needed to widen the signs because the language is just to say stop is like that was stop. Look at what you're seeing right now. Don't drive through the roads when they get real thin. I don't know what the hell that is. We have a thinning road, and just be aware that the road's going to be thinning and drive through it. I have no clue. And the fact that I don't know the sign that I'm seeing on that screen right now means I shouldn't be allowed to drive there. I mean, the same type of thing applies for people elsewhere. Like, I don't want some guy from the Bahamas to be able to come to my hometown and then just go to that local Mavis and, hey, oh yeah, I got a Honda Civic over here. You want to know why? Because when I went to the Bahamas, the guy shuttling us from the airport to the hotel, I'll never forget this. You want to know what he said in the car? He said, here in the Bahamas, the left side is the right side, and the right side is suicide. That was his little gimmicky way of letting us know we drive on the left side of the road. This guy's never driven on the right side of the road a day in his life. He calls that suicide. I just call it I-95. Yet he gets to come here, rent a car, and he can go take his family to Times Square. Never driven on the left side of a car and the right side of a road his entire life. And his local Bahamas road test. What does he have to do? And now, look, I'm not criticizing the Bahamas road test. Yes, I am. I just feel like you send in a piece of paper and they send you back their license. How can you assume that? I don't know. There's no way for me to know what a license in the Bahamas requires. Some guy in Uganda. What the hell is that? What kind of roads do they have over there? How many highways do they got? Do they have 5-lane highways of LA traffic? I'm not sure, but I don't think that guy should be pulling up to LAX, pulling out with a new Mercedes. I will tell you that. And who knows? Maybe there are laws against it. Maybe there are certain rules against it. I would love to know it. Am I going to look it up? Absolutely not. But I know I shouldn't be able to drive in Italy. I will tell you that much. The fact that I can go to England where they have that, topsy-turvy, left side, right side, suicide thing, and I can drive there is crazy. I've never driven on the right side of a car my entire life. And now they're trusting me to do that? Like in Iceland, by the way, when I was in Iceland, we did this ATV excursion where they go, you're going to take an ATV up the side of a volcano. They just gave me an ATV. I've never driven an ATV. I was shitting my pants. I'm going up a volcano with an ATV. I've never driven one of these things, and I'm just like full Ace Ventura. Chitty, chitty, bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang. There was one time, I swear to you, I couldn't straighten the wheel out, and I almost went right off the cliff. That cliff that you showed before with that attack, I almost went directly off the cliff of a volcano. Like that Joe versus the volcano movie. That was me about to fall off, but it wasn't as pretty and scenic. It was an Icelandic volcano. So yeah, I don't think that I should be driving, but I certainly will. And when I'm over there, I can assure you, I'll be telling a grand total of 0 people that I'm American. Nobody's going to know I'm American. Nobody. I've seen the movie Taken. I've seen the movie Hostel. I've seen what price a fresh American can fetch for someone. And while I know I'm not, the freshest banana in the bunch, I'm not a green banana, I'm certainly not the brown one either. And I would fetch a pretty price on that Hostel open market where they drag people back to Slovakia and have rich Europeans bid on killing them. No, thank you very much. I don't need that $25,000 bounty on my head. You see what you're looking at? That's the price to torture somebody in Slovakia, theoretically via the movie Hostel. You see Canadians on that list? That's exactly what I'm going to be. I am Andy from British Columbia, and I know many of the viewers of my channel, I'm going to use them as my references, like fake references on a resume. Like if Alex applies for a real job at HBO so that he can give it to us up the ass like the rest of the people with Game of Thrones, and he needs a reference, he can put me, why? Because he helps me with this, and he can say, I'm an executive producer on a popular show, unspecified due to, conflicts and confidentiality agreements. And then he lists me as a reference. You Canadians are going to be my reference. I'm going to say I am from Vancouver. Wait, where in Vancouver? We do this thing in British Columbia. It's kind of like if you've ever been to the United States. I don't know much about the United States, but people from New Jersey, they often say what county they're from, which is not typically what they do in the U.S. But we do the same type of thing here in British Columbia. We just say the province we're from. I'm from British Columbia, outside of Vancouver. It's just it's a customary tradition not to say the actual hometown or the zip code. So can't tell you that, but I am from British Columbia. I'm going to be a Canadian because at least there are ties to England, There are big ties to the UK. And if you're from French Canada, you even have some ties to France. And I'm way less likely to end up with a bandana in my mouth and a blindfold around me in a Slovakian torture chamber. And for my Slovakian listeners out there, I know it's a movie. But on the 1% chance it's based on reality, no thank you. I will be Canadian. You want to know who I'm going with? Girls to Be Determined for my vacation listing on Fly Me Out.
It's a scam.
That's a scam.
What a scam that was.
So this was all a scam, huh?
You got to see this Fly Me Out website. You essentially book a trip you leave a certain amount of seats open. So I'm Andy. Were you looking for that trip to Italy this summer? Did you want to go? Well, hurry up. You got 4 seats still available on a paid trip to Italy. It's like winning a Price is Right showcase without having to win any games. So I guess what do I have to do to get the seats? Oh, well, I don't know. Why don't you contact the member of that church who set up that thing for the sisters there? You're going to have to be doing the same things. We just call it season 8 of Game of Thrones. That's all you have to do. You just have to do a little season 8 of Game of Thrones, meaning get behind that barn and bend over. This is what you have to do. You want to go to Athens, Greece? We got how many? We got 4 seats available.
Andy, this is legit scary, man. This is like Airbnb-ing your own vacation.
Do they actually put the itinerary there?
I don't want to download it and find out.
No, go down. So Mykonos, you know this is a popular one. So they put the pieces of trash who you'll be traveling with? Is that who you just, like if you scroll down? And for those of you listening right now, we're looking at it on the screen. So go back up. I think, was that the itinerary? Day party?
Yeah, so we've got a trip itinerary. Wait, look above that too. This website sucks, by the way. This says Trip Vibe. Rage, adventure, luxury.
Hey man, here's your trip vibes. Food. My trip vibes would be miserable. I'm not going anywhere. We're probably staying inside in the air conditioning. So much to the point where for this upcoming trip to Italy, do you want to know what I've packed so far? Because Game 5 of the Stanley Cup, since they dragged it out all the way to the 4th of July, Game 5 of the Stanley Cup is to be going on while I'm in Italy. You want to know what I got? People make their list. Oh, I got my toothbrush and I got my passport. 2 of the things that I got packed right now are an Amazon Fire Stick and a Roku stick, just in case one of them doesn't work. A jailbroken version of these devices so that I can watch Game 5 of the Stanley Cup. That's what's on my mind when I'm going over there to Italy. So you want to know my vibes? Over here, it's rage, adventure, food, culture, luxury, and escape. And they have a little itinerary for you to look at. And then under that, they include the hosts. I mean, I don't want to out these guys. And then you have the girls who are already signed up. That's got to be weird if you're one of the girls, no? Like,
find your tribe, Andy.
Find your tribe? Wow. That is one absurd scam. Fly me out. I'm not flying you out anywhere. I don't even want to fly anywhere, let alone fly you out to somewhere. You know, actually, I saw this tweet. If you can pull that tweet up, a lot of girls that they don't like guys' stances on vacations, and I'm one of those guys. I don't travel a ton because I think in my whole life, 4% of vacations actually exceeded expectations. There have been a few that have met it, but the overwhelming majority, they underwhelm. That's just the case. So what I try to do in these situations, I try not to look up too much. Like, I try not to see what too many places look like. I try to be taken by surprise. That aforementioned Iceland trip, I think I've brought this up before. My friends and I, we weren't expecting it to be great. We didn't look up anything like, it's Iceland. We'll try to make the most of it. And we went there. We ended up having a great time. I think that's one of the tricks. But for the most part, they underwhelm. And now you got this girl here. Why do men hate traveling so much? Would going to the beach and sightseeing ruins for 2 weeks be so terrible? I don't understand the allure of the beach. I talked about this last summer on one of the podcasts. To a certain extent, when you're at the beach, you're just doing the same thing. Okay, Name your beach. I'm going to be at beautiful Italian beaches. Okay, I've now arrived. What do you do? Well, put your towel down. Okay, now my towel's down. Now what do you do? Well, lay down. Okay, now I'm laying down. Or now what do I do? I don't know. Look at your phone. Okay, I'm trying to look at my phone, but the screen's being blasted by the sun. I can't see anything. All right, well, listen to music. All right, I got some music on. And then that's it. That's it. I still don't understand the allure of going to the beaches in these locations. How is it any different than just sitting on a local beach next to you other than, okay, you look at it's clear. The water's clear. The water's not a swamp like in, New York or something like that. The swamps of New Jersey, the Seaside Heights beach. Yes, it looks nicer than that. But to fly to Fiji to see the clear water, I never understood the allure of that. And what ruins? What ruins am I going to see? I'm going to see the Coliseum, sure. But you want to see some real ruins? Go log into my DraftKings account and go check some of my bets since the beginning of the NHL playoffs. I'll show you some ruins. But I am going to be checking out the Coliseum. A lot of that's, I'm not going to the chapel and what's that? I'm not going to the Vatican. I don't need to see these. They're all Niagara Falls to me. I don't need to see them. Nowadays, like I said, you can put on an Oculus and you can just kind of be walking on Mars. An old church really isn't doing it for me. You know who needs to go check out that church? That person in LA, because the one they're in right now ain't really working for them. So I'm going to be going to the Coliseum because the place that I'm staying towards the end of my trip is actually right there. And it makes me kind of wonder, when I go there, what kind of like traditions are still in place that don't really exist anymore? I mean, people, are they still just blasting endless cigarettes? I'm talking about cigarette after cigarette. Are people smoking indoors like chimneys? My guess is yes. My guess is yes. Can I just call someone from a payphone? Because payphones are like pretty much non-existent now. That's been a rabbit hole of mine recently, by the way. I've been fixated because every time I see a remnant of like where a payphone used to be, I end up wondering. I went on a 2-hour search the other night. I guess this is what I would do at the beach. Look where I can find some payphones. I guess they're pretty much gone out of the tri-state area. They claim there's a random one here or there, but there are select areas around the country. I think the more rural you get, there are some payphones, and there's a guy on YouTube who calls random payphones that are still in service just to see if somebody picks up. And that's something that I think down the road I'll be looking to do, because that sounds like something pretty enjoyable, actually. Hopefully my trip to Italy is going to be somewhat enjoyable. Hopefully the episode of the podcast, the first of the summer, was enjoyable to you people. Now, this isn't a betting video, so I'm not going to end with the classic good luck to you, better luck to me, but I will say thank you so much for stopping by, watching this. Hopefully you got a couple chuckles along the way. If you want to join me on my trip, go to flymeout.com/purecrust. I'm not going with a bunch of random chicks, but I could think of worse things in the world, but I would never list anything on there on the off chance somebody saw. But then again, you know me. I would be Teddy Spaghetti. I'd be Tony Pepperoni. You think I put my real name and face on there? No, I would find some Rat King from this summer, put him on there, say, come join me. You want to know what vibe it's going to be? It's going to be a Rat King summer vibe, and I will see you guys next fall. Anyway, I'll be back after Italy for another episode of the show. The post-Italy, I'll have stories for you. I'll tell you a couple treat things. I'll tell you if my scam worked to pull up Game 5 of the Stanley Cup, that I'm going to be watching at 2 a.m. Yeah, 2 a.m. I don't care. I'm watching it. The place is known for its coffee. I'm sure I'll have plenty of caffeine to get me through the night. Subscribe to the show. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're a new person. If you're someone who is subscribed and just joined because of the sports stuff and you're like, what the hell is this? I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time as well. Take it easy. Have a good week or two until I see you next time. Good luck with Rat King Summer. Later.